All right, go ahead and start speaking.
Well, it's good to see everybody. This is our first meeting since the end of May, and we are welcoming this morning Reverend Deacon Barbi, who comes from Trinity Church. And she has been manager of Trinity Food Ministry for 8 years. And the food ministry includes a food pantry with meals twice a week and a hot lunch every Sunday. And mainly the manager duties highlight and build upon the premise how we relate to what Jesus tells us to do. Our relationship with one another and with the people we serve. And that love is the basis of all relationships in building. And Barbi lives with her wife, Debbie Wheeler, who is here this morning. She's sitting in the back there. And they live in South St. Louis City. And they have 3 dogs and a house that is 112 years old, which red brick that presents a lot of work. And I present Barbi Gleck now. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you to everyone for inviting us here today. Hi, Jeff. We are very happy to be, hi. I'm seeing people that I know in the audience and love very much. I appreciate being here today. This is the first time I've actually been done anything in front of anybody in a long while. So it's nice to begin anew. So today, in a little while, or maybe you already heard in the 8 o'clock, we hear in Jesus's gospel that he's telling his disciples what's about to happen. He's going to be betrayed, he will die, be killed, and then 3 days later, he'll rise again. They're scared and confused, yet they don't ask him any questions. They just go on as if they should understand, as if they should know what he's talking about. So they go on about their life. They're bragging about who is the greatest of all. Jesus, of course, knows this, and he sets them down and says, hey, wait a minute here. Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all. And then he picks up a little child and he stands in the midst of them and says, whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. A few verses later, Jesus talks about these little ones who believe in him. And in the Gospel of Matthew, he talks about the least of these. That is my job. That's what I do. I welcome people in the name of Jesus into the space. All people, not just those who can afford to be there, not just those who happen to walk by, but all people, and especially the little ones, the least of these, those that many call them. You plus me equals we. We plus them equals us. We're all a part of God's creation. Too often, we separate ourselves from them. Either we ignore them, play like we don't see them as we go past them, or we decide that we need to save them. Neither of these things is a good thing. It's always about relationship, always about relationship. The relationship of us is in the we plus them. We are in this thing together. So here's the hard part. Why would I want to be in a relationship with someone who appears to be homeless? They may be drunk, they may be on drugs, they may be dirty, they may really trigger my ick factor. Simple answer is, I don't want to be. That is an honest answer. Or we may actually think that we can save them. But let me tell you just right now, there's no one that we can save, that we are not the Savior, none of us in this room. So the simple answer is that you and I both know that regardless of what we want to do, we know what Jesus tells us to do. Jesus tells us that it's always about relationship. And that doesn't mean that some of us are greater than others. It means that we're all children of God, regardless of whatever circumstances. It means that we need one another. It means that we have commonalities. So what are our commonalities? Because that's where we have to begin. We all need food, yes? How affected were you when all the restaurants shut down and the grocery stores, everybody was told to stay, don't go out, don't do this, don't do that? Well, as affected as we all were, food ministries and programs slammed the doors shut, and some still haven't reopened. Trinity continued to offer food, by the way, Trinity Food Ministry. Another thing that we need is we all need shelter. So where do you shelter in place if you have no shelter? We need clean water. How are you going to wash your hands? Because that's what we all got told, right? Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. All the public restrooms shut down. All the restaurants, all the libraries, everything shut down. Where do people go to wash their hands? Where do they go to the toilet? Because we all need toilets, right? Imagine, you gotta go. I'll leave the rest to your imagination. We need respect and we need to be recognized as human. Eye contact, just looking at someone in the eye, smiling at them. These things are life-giving. You don't have to give someone a handout. All you have to do is look at them, acknowledge that I see you. You are someone. Smile, because that shows someone another thing we need. It shows them love, and we all need love. One thing the pandemic taught us is that we need touch. We need to be touched. How many of you went a long time without anyone touching you? I had a volunteer that came in. She had been off all during the pandemic, and she just recently came back. And I hugged her. And she said, oh my gosh, she said, that is the first time anyone has touched me in over a year. Now that is a really big thing. Speaking of the pandemic, we all know that on March 16th, 2020, our parishes received a directive from the bishop saying, shut it down. While parishes scrambled to figure out how to keep worship going virtually, Trinity Food Ministry struggled to find out, how are we going to keep getting food to those people who need it? During this time, we have not missed one single Sunday hot lunch. Trinity Food Ministry's partners, Sunday partners, they scrambled and rushed and figured out how to get the meal there ready to go, hot and ready to serve, every one of them. Instead of the 48 pantry volunteers that we had prior to the pandemic, we dropped down to 8. We figured out a way to keep the meals going out one door and the groceries going out the other door. We kept up this pace until Christmas time, and then to allow a rest for all of us because we were mentally and physically exhausted, we shut down for 2 weeks right after Christmas and after New Year's. When we reopened, we added a few more volunteers. I think it brought it up to the number 12, right, Deb? In August, our rector, John Stratton, called for a Sabbath for the entire parish. And so we shut down for 1 more week. Sunday hot lunch continued throughout these breaks. All of our volunteers are vaccinated. All who enter the pantry must wear a mask properly, just like all of you are doing. The biggest change came when we did a modified opening in July 21st. We actually let people come in for the pantry. So prior to the pandemic, we had packed bags according to household size. And we said, here you go, here's what we think you're going to need and what you will want as a family. Now, the food pantry is a full-fledged choice pantry. We pack small bags that have potatoes, onions, canned meats, rice, the rice that St. Tim's bags up, and chicken noodle soup. And that's what we assume everybody basically wants those things. Sometimes we're mistaken. So people get to choose whether they want what is already in the bag, and then they're able to go around all the tables that have all the other items on them, and they're able to choose what they want there. And this is a really big deal because it allows people dignity. I don't like peanut butter. I don't want peanut butter in my bag. Here it is, or leave it outside, whichever, if someone decides they don't want it. This way they can go, yeah, no, I don't want that. And they just go on to whatever is next. We may not have everything that people want, but everything we offer is their choice whether or not they take it. So who do we serve? Mostly, we serve the working poor. We serve families. And we serve people on disability or whatever kind of fixed income, Social Security, whatever. About a quarter of those we serve live in shelters or outside because we don't have enough shelters. In fact, the city of St. Louis, and as far as I know, St. Louis County does not have a 24-hour walk-in shelter, emergency shelter. That's a problem. Those who live outside or in shelters, they come mostly for the meals. So a misconception that I would like to just put out here, possibly it's even a false misrepresentation of people's lifestyle choices. People who are unhoused or homeless, the majority of them do not choose to be so. There are some for whom it is not a choice simply because of the condition that they find themselves in. But there are many reasons that people are without a home. And one of those is, which comes first, mental health problems or addiction? Because I don't know anybody who ever woke up in the morning and said, hey, I think I'm going to be an addict today. That doesn't happen that way. People start using drugs or they overuse alcohol because there's a problem that they're trying to numb. Now, that's not every case, but it is a lot of cases. It's a case in those that are personal to me that I know. Anxiety can make it very difficult to live an ordered life. Some people self-medicate with alcohol or drugs to try to calm that anxiety. And of course, we know that doesn't work, but anxiety can make it very difficult to be inside. People who suffer from PTSD, it's very difficult for them to be inside a crowded situation, crowded like a shelter or a group home or anything like that. Another way people find themselves homeless is they're kicked out, simply kicked out of their home. That happens to a lot of queer teens, kids that are discovering that they are not what their parents perceive to be normal. And so therefore they are actually kicked out of their homes. Women and children who suffer from physical, emotional, violent abuse, they are among the people who are homeless. And untreated mental health disorders, bipolar, schizophrenia, I'm sure there are many more outside of my scope of understanding that cause people to not be able to live in a family life or to live within the order that our society deems necessary. And then there are the catastrophic events. You get fired, you get laid off, you become ill, or you have a family member that needs constant care. Suddenly you don't have a job anymore, so you don't have income coming in, and so therefore if you're renting, you are evicted. Even during the pandemic, I don't care what anybody tells you, people were evicted constantly during the pandemic. Most of us, I would imagine even some of us in this room, are only 3 paychecks away from being homeless. The people who are the working poor are 1 away. Miss a paycheck, you miss your rent. And there's this story that goes around that so-and-so knows so-and-so who decided to check on the guy that stands out at the corner of 64 and whatever exit, and just wanted to check and see, was he really homeless? Was he really in need of that money that he's begging for on the street? So they wait, and then they follow the guy to blah, blah space and blah, blah time. And he gets in his car, and then he drives to such and such neighborhood and goes into his house. Now, that may be a true story, but I've heard it from a lot of people who say they know someone who did this. And I have to tell you, I don't know anybody that stands out there in 30-degree weather when it's raining, or 90-degree weather when it's 99% humidity and it's hotter than the hounds of hell. I don't know anybody who does that because it's easy money. So I think that people rarely fake being homeless just to be able to get some easy money. Now, I can go on talking for a long time, but I've touched on a whole lot of things. And so does anybody have any questions right now at this particular point? Oh, now come on, don't be like the disciples. They didn't ask. Jeff?
I just want to say I've known Barbi for a good number of years, and I've seen her in action at the Trinity Food Ministry, the Pantry, and the good work she does. And I've also witnessed her in her own life and that of her wife, Debbie. And they not only talk the talk, but they walk the walk in everybody they meet. And the generosity of her heart is amazing. I applaud.
Thank you. Thank you.
Barbi,
Yes,
maybe not
Susan.
everybody knows exactly where Trinity Food Pantry is.
Good
and
question.
Who you serve.
Good question. We are, Trinity Episcopal Church is at 600 North Euclid in the Central West End. We are 1 block off of the Del Mar Divide. Does everybody know what the Del Mar Divide is? It's that, for anyone at home, it's that street that marks off the between poverty and affluence, basically. On the north side, there's a great deal of poverty, like 97%. And on the south side of Del Mar, there's a great deal of affluence. Even if it's not the top 1%, it's still very well off, comparatively speaking. So we're 1 block off of Del Mar and 1 block off North Kings Highway. So to the, let's see, north, I gotta get my directions. Everything beyond that point is the Central West End, which is a fairly affluent area. There are a number of businesses. There are a number of really wealthy neighborhoods. At least the tax rolls of the city would deem that so. So I don't know what their actual income is, but they're, you know, the houses are really nice. They're some of the ones that were built for the 1904 World's Fair. That whole area in there that was built for dignitaries and all. So the people we serve come mostly from that north side, but they come from all over the city also. We get people from Creve Coeur, we get people from Clayton, we get people from all over the area, Illinois. So people come to get groceries when they need them. You had your hand up.
I think the notion of having human interaction with somebody who's out on the street is lovely, but it's also knowing the mental health issues. I always feel it's a matter of safety in some cases. Is that a misconception, would you say, or?
No, what's your name?
Andrew.
Andrew just asked, I forgot to repeat the questions. Andrew is wondering about the safety issues. He understands the heart concern and wanting to help people, but is wondering if the mental health aspects are a concern. Was that right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
I think that's a very good question. And yes, it's always a concern. I mean, like you do not, I have learned from experience things you do and do not do. One, you don't respond, you don't try to get in anybody's face if they're in a manic moment. So you have to use your sense. It has never kept me from being in the midst of the people. But I also learned you don't ever back someone into a corner accidentally. I mean, it happened purely accidentally because I was trying to calm the man down. But I can't calm people down when they're in the middle of a psychotic episode. So I have had to learn de-escalation tactics. And it's vitally important. So no, I wouldn't just suggest that all of us or any of us go out into the middle. But are you afraid, and I'm not asking this personally, but are you in your car and afraid? Because if that's a concern, I would say, no, it's not a concern. I'd say you're in far more danger of being harmed by driving on I-70 in some areas. So just being running down the street, who knows what's going to happen? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Leanne, I'm Andrew's wife.
Leanne, okay.
So I think maybe based on some shared personal experiences, you're more so talking about in person on the street.
Yeah, like if we go out to dinner and we're downtown, and we see somebody who,
You want to help people, and sometimes we have ended up in,
I can't recall
Somewhat.
that, but I mean, I believe you.
yeah, or maybe this is when I was by
I
myself.
think when we went down to get our vaccinations, there was a few places where we were walking to get to the stadium, and it was kind of like, I don't necessarily want to ignore this person, but I also don't see anybody else around. Is it safe to interact in a case like that? And my gut tells me no, but maybe I'm over careful.
Okay, Leanne is, she clarified a little bit. I'm talking to the people that are online too. So Leanne clarified a little bit by saying that more in a walking situation. So in that case, there have been numerous instances where I have been at the cathedral, because I was at the cathedral for a while as deacon there. And, I mean, I'm always aware of my surroundings. I pay attention, and I always have my car keys close at hand for whatever, to get in or to use as a weapon, whatever. I don't know, you never know what's going to happen. So you have to be aware, and you have to follow your gut. And now I'll give you an example. I was at the cathedral the other day. I came walking out. There was a man that was clearly walking towards me. I had to quickly determine whether I saw him as a threat or how was I going to react to him? Because that's what we do. We have to do that because we live in a space and time where we don't always know where we are, who we're with. So I thought, okay, I will say hello and I'll just keep on walking because I was close to my car. And so he answers me, he said hello, and he kept walking. He was walking to the little pantry thing that they have at the cathedral where they put food stuffs in for people who need food. So as he's walking, he said, "You don't happen to have a bottle of water or some kind of food, do you?" And so I thought immediately at that moment, I made a connection and my mind said, he's okay. And so I went to look to see if I had a bottle of water, which I didn't, but I did have some cookies. And so I gave him those. And I was able to give him a spoon that I happened to have, a plastic spoon in the car. He had found a can of SpaghettiOs in the box. So he ended up telling me that he was on his way to work. He's working at the convention center because Harry Styles was in town. Everybody know who Harry Styles is? My granddaughter had been there. Been in town. She would have loved to have been there. But so it's a matter of making quick decisions. And if you feel really uneasy, or if you get, I listen to my intuition. It is vital. That is, I believe that is that divine spark, that inner spirit that tells me, do this or don't do this. So you got to listen to yourself. Just make sure, where's it coming from? You know, because our biases are a big thing. They're part of who we are. It's what we've been taught. So Sara Miles, I have 2 books here that I brought. This is a very worn copy of Take This Bread. And it's by Sara Miles. And I tell you, everybody needs to read this. And then you need to read it again. And then maybe a 3rd time too. I think I've read it like 4 times. So she says a lot of really amazing things in this thing. And all of it is scriptural. I mean, you can find anything she says, you can find it right there in the Gospels, right there. And then another one is a friend of mine just wrote this book. It's called 5 Loaves, 2 Fish, 12 Volunteers. And it's by Liz Magill, Elizabeth Magill. So these are really good books. It tells a lot of this one-on-one relationship stuff, because this is all about relationship. And that one is too, but this one I know. I haven't finished reading that one yet. I just know her, and I know she interviewed me when she was writing the book. So I have a question there. Oh, it's Nancy.
I was told by someone that you should not give them money, but it was all right to give them food. Is that?
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Nancy said that she had been told to not give money, but to give food. Why would you not give money?
Well,
Not to put you on the spot, but
No, the person said you don't know how they're going to use it.
you don't, but
I mean, what's more useful for them, the money or food?
well, let me tell you this. If someone is an alcoholic and they haven't had a drink and they need a drink, they can, going through withdrawal, going through the DTs and delirium tremors from withdrawal of alcohol can be deadly. And it's not something anybody ever needs to do alone. They need to be watched, they need to be medicated, and everybody needs to be paying attention to them to make sure that they're going to make it. If you are a heroin addict, you're going to want to die, because that's how bad withdrawal is. You may not, you probably won't, but you want to, because it is painful. It is 3 days of total physical, everything from nausea to vomiting to diarrhea to pains to just writhing. So if you give somebody $1, if 10 of us give somebody $1, that they've got $10, they've got enough to go buy something, whether it's just a tall boy or whether it's something to stave off. So who are we to say, I guess is the point I'm trying to make, who are we to say what they should do with their money? Because they might go to McDonald's. They might go to the grocery store. Not that they're going to get very much for $10, but they might. You don't know what they're going to do. So I'm saying, if you feel like handing someone $1, especially if you're in your car and you're handing it out the window, don't forget to look at them. Don't forget to smile at them. Don't forget to recognize them as human. And if you're going to give it, just give it. Now, if you have a bottle of water on a really cold day or on a really hot day, either one, because dehydration is a huge problem when you're homeless, give the bottle of water. Give the bottle of water, give protein bars, whatever, and $1. Give what you want to, whatever your heart feels called to. But once you give it, it's a gift and it's gone. So you have no call on it after that point.
Thank you. Well, and then I have a comment also.
Okay.
I have a friend who drives into the city and there's always people on the corner. So she's made Ziploc bags. And she puts water in it, a pair of socks, and granola bars. I think she even puts a $5 bill in there.
That's a huge thing.
Hands the bag to them.
That's a wonderful gift. It's a great idea. And I keep thinking, I'm going to make sure I have water. I'm going to make sure I have this or that. I keep not doing it. Sometimes I do, but then I don't always replenish it. But it is a beautiful idea. The water, just like I said, everybody needs water. You can add hand sanitizer to it, a little bottle of hand sanitizer. You can, the socks, just make sure that they're new socks, that they are a normal size. Don't give an adult man a child's, because a lot of people think in terms of children needing stuff, and so they buy all these things for kids. And then I got this huge donation of children's toothbrushes. Well, yes, we serve children, but we hardly ever see the children because the majority of the people coming in is the parent, the head of the household, or now with the pandemic shift with the funds, the child tax credit, we have seen a marked decrease in households with children in them. Why? People got money. They got their money. They got their, instead of that big tax break they get at the end of the year, they've been getting it every month. And it's all the difference in the world. This one young man, I don't know how old he is, but he's young, and he has 3 children under the age of 5. And I told him about the tax break when it was going to be coming up and everything. And he said, I'm going to get $300 for each one of my kids. And I said, yes. And he said, every month? And I said, yes. And he said, that's $900 a month. And I said, yes, it is. He said, that will make all the difference in the world. It will make all the difference in the world. It's funny how money makes all the difference in the world. It's a big deal when people can, we have never kidded ourselves. This food pantry, the meal program, it's not where you go. It's like, oh, let's go run down to Trinity and have lunch today. You do it because you have to. You do it because you're hungry. We're not the first choice in grocery stores. They come to us because they know we're there. Yes, ma'am.
I think you said that there isn't like a shelter program, an overnight shelter in South County, is that?
No, I said there are no 24-hour walk-in emergency shelters. There are shelters,
Okay.
but it is tough to get in one. You got to start calling it. You got to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then they got to check and see who's planning on coming back the next night of all the people that were there the night before.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know about South County. This is mainly my knowledge of the city.
Mm-hmm.
There are small shelters all over the place, but because of the pandemic, instead of holding 100 people, now they can hold 50, or some of them where they were holding 50 people, they can only hold 17 or 18. So it is far from the help we need. We have over 1,500 people that are unsheltered in our city. Those are the ones we know about. That doesn't include all the moms and children who are living in cars and unaccounted for. That doesn't include people who are crashing on somebody's couch or their floor.
Yeah, so in these shelters, overnight shelters, do they have to leave like by 7 in the morning?
Some of them have to leave by 6:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
During the pandemic, especially during the really, really cold, during our polar vortex last year, the shelters stayed open for 24 hours. Like Trinity opened we were open for 3 days for 24 hours each day. And there were people, I have a picture of the cots set up, and one of the cots was set up between the altar and the cross. It was really a poignant photo. It was amazing. Jeff?
I'm going to put in a plug for next Sunday at both services. Rob Good from the Cathedral coordinates the winter outreach program for the Cathedral, which they've participated in for the last 10 years, looking for some volunteers for this year, that the Cathedral takes in folks on those cold, bitter nights to give shelter and a hot meal. And Rob's looking for volunteers to greet people or to spend the night or to make a meal
it is a wonderful way to find what commonalities there are between you and someone who has absolutely no place to go on the coldest of nights.
Check your Jim's Times. All the stuff about Rob's visit is in there from last Thursday.
Yes, ma'am.
I worked down at the cathedral on Saturday mornings at 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
Did the Saturday morning breakfast, do they still do that?
They are not. Lynn asked about Saturday morning breakfast at the cathedral, and no, they are one of the ones that it closed during the pandemic. And I don't know if they've opened back up. I know they were talking about opening back up, but I don't know.
They have not.
They have not. Okay.
Unfortunately. So many of the volunteers are immune compromised. And
Yeah.
we need some younger folks,
Yeah.
please.
Well, I stopped going down there when I had my accident, but they
Yeah.
always had somebody on security upstairs.
Right. Yes.
And the volunteers came in a different door. We came in off the parking lot and they were in the back, not lined up all the homeless people.
Yeah.
And only once did we have somebody that was disorderly. It was a lady, and everybody, it was amazing. They carried backpacks and they could take those hard-boiled eggs. I thought it was awful. We gave them hard-boiled eggs, and they could make salad,
Mm-hmm.
things that they could do with what they took out of their backpack to make a nice lunch.
Yeah, it is, because that's one of the things that Sara Miles talks about, is that we see these people as having lives that are really messed up. I mean, it seems really messed up. Yet she talks about how resilient they are, because they do exactly that. They find ways to cope, to adapt, and to go on. Can you imagine some catastrophic event, God forbid, happen in any of your lives? And I'm sure you've had catastrophic events, but I'm talking about the ones that cause you to be wrecked financially, so that maybe you've got your car and so you're living out of your car. But this catastrophic event has wrecked you financially so much that how long can you drive your car? And then if you happen to break down or run out of gas in the wrong place, guess what happens to your car? It gets towed, and everything that you have gets towed along with it. And you can't get it out because it's $200 a day, and that builds up. And so suddenly you're walking. What do? Where do you go? This is a question a lot of people face every day, every single day. You can tell a new person, someone who's new to the streets, because they come in and they're like, their eyes are darting everywhere, and they're trying to find someone that they can latch onto who seems to be a safe person for them to be with. And it happens with men and women, but especially with the women. They're especially looking for someone to help them stay safe, to help protect them. This is just it's a reality of way too many lives. And so we're 10:25, we're okay still? Okay, so I want to talk about ways to help and what to do. How can we make this system change? Because there's something wrong with our system. This is really wrong. No one should be without water. No one should be without food. No one should be without shelter. No one. These are fundamental rights. And it doesn't matter how many times you screwed up or how much of it is that it's your own fault that you're where you are. The punishment should not be that you don't even have a drink of water. I mean, even people in prison that have done heinous things are fed and sheltered and given water. A lot of these people, life just happened to them. Even if they did make the wrong decisions, life is damning. I mean, this is really being damned. So what do we do to change these things? How can you help? What can each one of you do? For one, you can demand that the people that we elect do something, spend some of the pandemic funds that we got for homelessness on homelessness. There are examples all over this country of micro houses, of micro villages, of ways that people are taking care of one another. We just came back from the Wild Goose Festival in North Carolina, and we listened to the people in Asheville from a group called Beloved Asheville. And one of the things that she said was, how do you fight NIMBY? Everybody know what NIMBY is? Not in my backyard. So how do you fight NIMBY? You build beautiful little houses that are worth something. And they they've already broken ground, and they're doing all of this through faith and community. They didn't have a penny to start this, yet someone ended up donating land. Someone donated to go in and grade all the land. They donated that time. They're donating the goods to build the houses, and they're building these little micro houses that are, 670 square feet, somewhere around that. And all of them face towards the other ones. There's a pathway, and they all face, so it's a village. How do we build relationship? By talking to one another. There's another place down in Austin, just northeast of Austin, Texas. And it was started by Mobile Loaves and Fishes. And it's called Community First Village. And they have like 500, there's like two different sections. One has 500 micro homes, tiny homes, yurts, glampers, all sorts of different ways to, people have a choice of what they live in. And they have 7 outdoor kitchens. They have all these community spaces where people join together, and it's all built in these circles so that this little community and this little community, and then there's this broader community in between them so that they can all come to that way. And it's a way of being there for one another. It's not a demand that you have to be a veteran, or you have to be sober, or you have to be whatever. They get the housing first, then they work on whatever the problems are, whether it's mental health, or whether it's addiction, or whether it's just whatever the problem is. They work on job resources. There in this one in Austin, there's an iron worker area where they actually work on metals. They do crafts and things with metal. I guess it's welding, isn't it? There's all sorts of different, there's a woodworking area. There's all sorts of just different resources that people can learn new skills, learn what brings them a good feeling in their gut, what makes them happy. And then they go home to their home. So there are things that we can do, and the people that we have elected are there because we elected them. Doesn't matter if you actually cast the vote for them or not. They still are there representing every one of us. And they are supposed to be spending the money that they got for homelessness on homeless issues. So make sure, find out, are your representatives actually doing this? Are they actually paying attention to that fact that there are people in your midst, and I can guarantee you know someone that's homeless, or you know someone who has a family member that's homeless. It's just too big of a problem not to know that. You can also donate the requested items. All these items, one of the things is, don't donate what you think someone might need. Don't ever donate anything with the thought of, oh, it's just got a little stain on it, somebody can use it. Don't ever donate anything saying, I don't like this little tear, but somebody can use it. And don't donate anything that you're not requested, that is not requested, because it winds up being in the dumpster. I cannot tell you how many boots we've thrown away because there's no insoles. Well, guess what? People can't afford boots. They can't afford insoles to go inside the boots either. So, and they cause more problems because someone who walks everywhere, they will go through a brand new pair of shoes in 1 month's time. They're not, most of them do not have brand new shoes on. They have used shoes that somebody else's foot already set the form to. And so, and the shoe may not even fit. I get people that say, I say, what size shoe do you wear? And they say 10 and a half. And I say, I'm sorry, all I have is 12. That'll work. It's like, no, it won't. It won't work. It doesn't work. It keeps their feet covered, but it causes as many problems as it solves. So pay attention to what anybody, whether it's International Institute, you know, any other, whoever it is that's asking for something, pay attention to what they're asking for, because that's what they need, because they know the specific needs of the people. So on that list, I gave you the things that we always need, and a lot of them are food items or hygiene items. I gave you a list of the winter needs, the things that we need for winter. And we're not dressing anybody for success. We're dressing people for survival, because this winter is predicted to be a really harsh one again. Hopefully they're wrong. Last year they said it was going to be mild, and we ended up having, what, I forgot how many days of below or single digits it was, but it was a lot. Also, I included on there our Amazon wish list. So it's, I try to keep it updated according to the season, and I just updated it. So there are numerous things on there, and you don't have to buy from Amazon. You can just, those are the things that we need. So, you know, wherever they come from. Yes.
Can you ship them right to Trinity then?
Yes.
When you order it?
Yes.
And if you use Amazon Smile,
Yes.
then you.
Amazon Smile is like my Amazon, which I have utilized a lot over the past year, is Amazon Smile for Trinity. And there's income that comes in from that. So it's, that's one way to help also. Also, you can ask for your Schnucks, your local, whatever Schnucks you go to, you can ask that. Well, we have requested that we be included. I haven't gotten the paperwork back on that yet. So anyway, whatever. You can give trinitycwe.org/give. You can give that way. You can give the donated goods. Also, there's one thing that we did in 2019. It was the foot ministry. I think it was 2019. Yes, because, yeah. It was on Monday, Thursday, and St. Peter's joined in. They bought shoes. They bought a lot of shoes, brand new shoes, the kind that, you know, walking shoes, not dress shoes, but walking shoes. We had Central Reform congregation came, and they offered foot care, pedicures, foot baths, pedicures. We had a wound care specialist there, because the feet, oh my God, the feet, it's just, it'll break your heart. If you can take whatever foot problem you have, because surely everybody has a foot problem, I know I do, and multiply that by whatever number you want to. And that's the just people's feet. It's just, it's incredible. But anyway, we had this foot ministry. So we had all these things, and we gave away new socks. We gave away foot powder, the Gold Bond foot powder, the Gold Bond lotion, all these different things to the people who came for brand new shoes. And we thought, oh, nobody's going to want us to wash their feet. We were wrong. One person out of 40 people, one person said, no, I'll do it myself. Everybody else was like, oh, this is heaven. They loved it. So this is a really big deal. If you are interested in joining in some way, come, because I plan to do it this year. We weren't able to last year, but I'm going to find some way during Holy Week, this next Monday, Thursday, I'm going to find some way that we're able to do this again. So if St. Timothy's wants to be involved in that in any way, that would be amazing. If all it is socks or Gold Bond powder or any of those type of things, whatever. If you want to be there physically, that's a possibility also. So we'll keep in touch. I thank you all very much for inviting us here. If anybody wants to see these books any closer, I will be around for a minute or two, and I can give you the action, or we can send you the link. I can send it to Lynn and send you the names. So just Lynn can let me know. You can let her know. Thank you all so much for everything you do. I didn't mention everything that St. Timothy's already does. The rice, an amazing thing. The donations, the monthly donations, the gifts, the grants, all of that. So I'm very negligent in not mentioning that. So I thank you from all the people who come to Trinity Food Ministry to seek whatever to find whatever they seek. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you all very much for being here. And actually here, if you need a flyer, if you didn't get one from last week and things like that, this is the schedule for this coming season. So please come grab one and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.